And Darren Mougey spoke this morning, pre-draft presser, as all GMs are required to do around the NFL. So this was Darren Mougey being asked about the David Bailey canceled top 30 visit. Remember that hoopla? All of a sudden, Bailey's visit, it gets canceled. What does that mean? Well, here's Darren Mougey explaining what exactly happened there.
Say this, with top 30s, every team uses them differently and has different ways of using that mechanism. Some don't even use the top 30s at all, right? I would say for us, when we do top 30s, every single player and case is different. Sometimes I want this player to meet with our player engagement department. Sometimes I want this player to meet with our sports performance. Sometimes it's purely medical. Sometimes it's a recruiting process. Sometimes it's a smoke screen. And in regards to David, we had good touch points with him at the Combine. We went to his pro day, had a good dinner with him, and we were just kind of juggling our 30 and how to use them, and I wouldn't look too much into a cancellation because there was other ones that we may have changed as well.
I think he kind of revealed what it was. He used the word smokescreen. I think that's what this was. I can't believe he said it. That's what I think happened here. They felt like they obviously had all the info they needed on David Bailey. They went out to dinner with him. They went to the pro day. I think that's what this was. That or maybe just like a schedule thing that popped up, but they clearly feel comfortable with all the information they've gathered on Bailey. And I say all that to say, I think it's going to be Arvo Reese too.
Yeah, 100%. It's hasn't changed for me, knowing Glenn. And again, the wild card is who's the final decision maker. Has it changed? We don't know. Knowing Glenn, it's Reese all the way. I think Glenn views him as the far superior football player overall. I think most, football people see it that way. And I just don't think it's changed. And kudos to Mougey and the Jets for getting the media's panties in a bunch, because it has been a 100% disgrace this offseason in terms of NFL draft coverage. It's absolute joke. We know what it is usually. Everyone's great. It's a celebration. But this time, this offseason, it's just exponentially worse. And there's got to be a point where we say enough and we call it out and we get back to evaluation on a per team and per prospect basis. And some people have the just slight cojones to call it out and say, I don't know, man, he might be a little jacked up in terms of value right now, or this guy's a little under the radar. I'm just not seeing too much of that. Everything's great. Everything's a celebration. And until that changes, Mougey and the GMs in the NFL who do a good job of keeping the secrets in-house are going to keep doing that good job.
I just can't remember a GM actually acknowledging that sometimes top 30 visits are smoke screens. Like, imagine if you're the agent of the player who had to get on a flight to go visit the team and it's all for naught. You have no interest in actually drafting that player. You just want to make the appearance look like, hey, we could take this guy. Like, that's crazy that he actually said that. I respect him for saying it because we know this goes on, but I am very surprised that Mougey said that out loud.
A wise man once said, the secret to being secretive is telling the truth. And I just made that up. No wise man said that, but it makes sense because if you tell the truth and you're not, people read body language, even if it's not intentional, it's subconscious, and you can tell when someone's bullshitting you or not. And if you're honest and upfront without giving away the game, but you're honest about the things that don't matter in terms of not giving away the game, I think that's Mougey, and I think he's fooled a lot of people. I saw your show yesterday with McShay. My goodness gracious, he tore both hamstrings, an ACL and a PCL.
Look, I like Todd's draft analysis, but since he's went over to the Ringer, he's tried to be more of like draft expert and also, hey, here's what I'm hearing. And he's been so wrong this entire cycle where he's basically said everything possible, moving the goalpost so he can't be wrong. Like, it's just he's brought great shame to the draft community with his insiderness this cycle.
Great shame. He's brought great shame. A wise man once said, listen, you don't need to know.
Just say, I don't know.
You don't need to know. You don't know less about football by not knowing. In fact, it probably means you know more because you're not hopping on the junk that doesn't matter. So, yeah, man, I like McShay in terms of evaluation too. I thought he was really good with Mendoza, especially early in the season, midway in the season, calling out the things that worry you and concern you, and keeping Simpson clumped together, having Mendoza first, but Simpson there. So his evaluation, I'm cool with, but yeah, you don't need to know. And again, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Like all of a sudden, the whole world is on Bailey. The same conversation, the same info. Dude, my mama didn't raise no stupid children. Like I don't get it.
Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We are breaking down the Darren Mougey press conference on our show this morning. The big takeaway is him basically saying top 30 visits, they're used for all sorts of reasons, including sometimes just being a smokescreen, which I think thus explains the David Bailey situation. Because one final point on the Bailey visit or lack thereof before we move on. If they were going to take him, you're bringing him in if you get another opportunity to spend time with him in a one-on-one environment at your facility. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to take him, you're going through the exercise and you're putting in the time with him. I don't care if you had dinner with him, the night before his pro day.
Doesn't make sense. You wouldn't pass on that opportunity. Listen, having said that, would I be shocked if they don't take Reese and go with someone else? Not completely shocked, but a little bit shocked. But yeah, I agree with you. You don't pass up opportunities. You don't do it. And if he's as analytical and buttoned up as everyone says, that flies in the face of that nature. You don't pass up opportunities to spot something as an investigator, as a gather as much info as possible. In what world does that make sense? You're trying to get, I'll gather less information because I feel confident already. No, you're going to gather as much info as possible. So 100% agree.
Great giveaway on our show today. I've stepped up the giveaways as we're this close to the draft. We're manifesting a great Jets draft. We're manifesting the Jets nailing their first round picks like they did in 2022 when they drafted Garrett Wilson. Signed G5 helmet up for grabs on our shows today. Enter by gifting a membership or sending in a $10 super chat or higher to qualify. When you enter for the Garrett Wilson signed helmet on our shows today, you're entered in our draft weekend raffle that features the following 5 prizes: Joe Namath signed helmet, Nick Mangold signed helmet, Darrelle Revis signed helmet, another Garrett Wilson signed helmet, and a signed Mason Taylor helmet. Those are the weekly prizes. Here's your daily prize, a chance to win a Garrett Wilson helmet. Shout out to Black Gypsy and Rasta Dread 305, the first 2 Asmaniacs to enter the raffle on our show. Let's go.
It's Jets, Jets. I love Fireman Ed too.
Rasta, Black Gypsy, thank you both. Here's more from Darren Mougey. Mougey being asked about the edge group in general. Here's the Mougey.
This draft class as well with the edge group. I think there's different flavors, different styles. Guys do it different ways, but it is a pretty good group. I would say that in this draft.
Jets could double up at edge. They could take Reese or Bailey. You and I both think it's Reese at 2, and then they could come around at 33, and they could take another edge there. They could do it at 44. I think this is a deep edge group. It's a deep receiver group, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Jets double up in one of those position groups.
He's 100% right. It's a very different. It's a diverse edge group. I mean, Reese and Bailey are really polar opposites in a lot of ways, and again, I like that he admits that out loud. I like, he doesn't go dive into the details crazy, but I like that he admits that out loud. And based on, forget me, like, listen, I objectively viewed both guys. I have my opinion, but in terms of what I think they're thinking, especially Glenn, Mougey could be a bit of a wild card, but especially Glenn, I think it's Reese. I think it's the overall guy, the all-around guy who could do multiple things, who could set up 3rd and longs for you, who could get you to better spots in terms of a defense and fit more in terms of modernizing the defense. And that's a big deal. And that's pretty much where we are. But did he say anything about the receiver group?
Don't have a cut from him on wide receivers. Now, the Jets have not put the presser on YouTube like they normally would. So maybe they're going to post it later. But as of this morning, all I have available is what either the team tweeted out or SNY Jets.
I'll see if I could find the transcripts. But yeah.
Let me bring this up to you, Robby, because I want you to go off here. Bang Mateo not a fan of Arvell Reese. He wrote in, Reese is the jack of some trades, master of none. Your thoughts?
Elaborate. We'll get into the combo. Elaborate. Master of none. Which some trades is he a jack of, and which ones is he not a master of?
Let's see it, Bang. Here's your opportunity.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
All right, more from Mougey, and then we'll get back to Bang Mateo trying to be Bang Mateo. Here's Mougey on the process of a private workout that they've conducted with prospects. Good stuff here.
It's a little different, but you like to send the player kind of a test the night before, right? Hey, download all this information. Okay, we're going to be there tomorrow morning. We're going to get in a room. Let's see how much you can retain. Let's see how natural it is for you to talk football. Let's see if we connect in the room personality-wise. And we'll go through that meeting in the room, talking a lot of football, a little personal stuff, but a lot of their habits, just kind of really getting a feel for their football mind. And then you go out into the field. Obviously, you see them physically, but in that same time, you're kind of testing them mentally.
So that's kind of how they go through their private workouts. I play that clip because Rich Cimini said that the Jets, he has heard, were impressed by Ty Simpson's football character and smarts in that private workout that they conducted with him a few weeks ago. So keep that in mind. If Ty Simpson's there at 33, I still maintain that he is in play for the Jets. Gun to my head, I don't believe Ty Simpson ends up as a Jet, but I do think there's a chance he makes it to 33, and there's a real decision the Jets are weighing over the 20-something hours in between the end of round 1 and the start of round 2. All right, Asmaniacs, listen up for a second. No matter what you're watching, whether it's New York sports or any game you didn't plan on caring about, there's no better way to stay locked in than with PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made simple. You're just picking more or less on player projections. That's it. No complicated lineups, no nonsense. Just you versus the numbers. And here's why I love it. Even if it's a game you normally wouldn't care about, once you got a lineup going, you're locked in. Every play matters, every drive matters, every at-bat matters. I've been mixing sports too. Maybe a little football, throwing some baseball, maybe some basketball, and now you've got action across the board all night, and PrizePicks makes it even better with features like early cash outs if your picks are hitting, the ability to mix multiple sports in one lineup, and you can even see what other people are playing and tail their picks. So if you haven't tried it yet, what are you doing? Download the PrizePicks app right now. Use code HMA. That's HMA, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, it's HMA on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. Did Mougey not nail that answer? He gave you every scenario. He actually was honest, which these GMs typically aren't. He acknowledged that sometimes they're just smoke screens, which you feel bad if you're like a player who's just being brought in to a facility for the day and you have no chance of actually going there. But I think Mougey handled that beautifully. But what do you make of, one, that answer, and two, what it actually means for David Bailey and the Jets?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, right? I don't know the last first-round Jets draft pick that was not brought in for a 30 visit. I know Membu was, I know Fashanu was, and I believe most of the draft picks they've had have been. And to me, like, you want to gain all the information you could possibly gain or gather on these guys, especially when you're talking about the number 2 pick in the draft. So it did feel a little bit weird that they canceled it, but like you said, maybe it's a smokescreen. To me, a lot of the noise the last like few weeks has been like, okay, we're taking Reese, and the Jets, that does them no benefit for everybody to know that. So I think they started to trickle out some Bailey stuff potentially, especially after you hear the Cowboys are interested in trading up or whoever's interested in trading up. I think the Jets over the last week or two have been trying to drum up some of the Bailey interest in hopes that a team trades up to number 2 for Bailey, which would be the ideal scenario realistically. Like, I like Reese quite a bit, and I like him quite a bit more than Bailey. But if you could tell me, hey, they move down to 4 or 5, gain a second round pick or whatever it may be, and you could still take a Tate or a Bain or a Downs or Styles or whatever your preference is, that would be my preference. But I do think it's been a little bit of a smokescreen last 2 weeks with some of the Bailey news. I still am pretty cemented at being Reese, but it did feel odd that they canceled the 30 visit with him. And then on top of that, and we know it's a smokescreen, but I don't know if I've ever heard, or could be a smokescreen. I don't know if I've ever heard a GM say, yeah, it could be a smokescreen. Like, I don't think I've ever heard that. So definitely interesting. And I like how just transparent, how honest he's being.
And he talked so much there, he never actually answered the question on why Bailey specifically had his top 30 visit canceled. You know what I mean? Like Mougey's getting better at this this GM speak. If only Glenn could learn how to properly speak to the media and not create a ridiculous headline for no good reason.
Yeah, he says a lot without saying anything. Mougey, and you get like some good nuggets, but he still didn't answer the question specifically about Bailey. Again, it sets off some alarm bells in my head. Like, hey, why not get as much time as you possibly could with the guy who's the number 2 pick and see him around your staff and get into some film and get into some scheme and whatever else it may be. The odds have flipped again. Last night it was minus 360 for Reese, and now it's like plus 155. And the only thing I saw today, and again, obviously I work midnight, so I just got up and came downstairs to do this. But I saw that Schrager again mocked Bailey, and is that what flipped the odds again? I don't know. I bet 100 on it to get like 210 if Reese is the pick. So I'm hoping he is. Again, I'd be a little bit disappointed if it's Bailey. I understand. If it is him, don't love it, but it is what it is. We have again 50 something hours to go here. I'm ready for it to be over.
If it is Bailey, do you think Robby Sabo will cry himself to sleep Thursday night?
Yeah, you said we were talking the other day, and you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be you versus Frankie for years to come. Like, no, just make it Robby versus Frankie. Like, I don't want to be involved in all this stuff. I really don't. Robby's not going to be happy. I won't be happy either, just transparently, just because Bailey does feel like more of like a low 9, 10, mid first round type of guy to me, more so than being the number 2 overall pick. I don't think he's guaranteed to get you 10 plus sacks a year. I think that's bullshit from any prospect coming out. You can't just guarantee that. And then I worry about his floor being a DPR who doesn't play the run very well. He's only playing 40% of the snaps like he did his 3rd year at Stanford, where they took him off the field for rundowns. And then Reese is out there in 2 or 3 years and dominating because he hits he reaches his ceiling. And I think Mougey talked a little bit about that today too, or like talking about the ceiling and projection with these guys. So they then kind of, if you're a Reese guy, they've thrown enough tidbits out there where you can kind of grasp onto it and say, okay, yeah, I think they like Reese, talking about projection, talking about the ceiling, Aaron Glenn talking about versatility in the defense and things like that. So I do still think they go there. I wouldn't hate Bailey, not as much as Sabo would. I would be disappointed though, transparently.
You're part of Arvel's army. It's okay. You could say it. You're not a Bailey vote.
I think you're part of Arvel's army at this point as well, Jake.
I'm playing the neutral line, so I can support either prospect.
Yes, you go back and clip it. Like, no, look, I had some good Bailey takes as well. Which
I'm a Bailey bro.
Dude, it's that point at the offseason where I'm seeing the same guys who criticize. Let's just say it's Simpson. He's an easy name. People who criticize Simpson now are now glazing him up because they can go back and quote tweet themselves and be like, yeah, see, I was on Simpson. Delete all their old tweets. So yeah, this is being drawn out. People's opinions are flip flopping. Smoke screens, Jordan Tyson potentially smoke screen. There's another one recently where a guy has been really, really hyped up, and I forget his name off the top of my head. You got the corner from Tennessee, right? McCoy, who might need to have another surgery. Is that a smoke screen? Is that legit? I don't know if you could lie about stuff like that. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but there's so many things flying around right now. There's been guys who drop who we don't think are going to drop. Guys who go earlier than we think they will. It happens every year. So I'm so ready next Tuesday to start like breaking down 2nd, 3rd, 4th round prospects. Whoever the 1st round pick is, we'll probably go back to him a little bit. But yeah, no more guessing in about 48 hours.
I love you, Robby Sabo. I'm going to take care of you today and always until end of time. You got some crazy ass hair, bro.
Arvel's army, assemble. In Pittsburgh, it all begins Thursday night.
I think they did Robby dirty with that haircut, though. That was like a little bit more like Ellen than it is Sabo. So a little bit dirty with the haircuts. You might need to fix that and chat GBT or wherever the hell that video is from.
So you made a comment before about people flip-flopping. I want to just put up on a screen here the timeline of Todd McShay
there you go.
Completely soiling himself during the pre-draft process. All right. This is April 15th. Todd McShay says, quote, now we're back to David Bailey, and it's close to a foregone conclusion in NFL circles. April 16th. If I had to put my own money on it right now, it would be heavily on David Bailey. April 17th. I sent out a text, and the answer I got back was, we canceled the David Bailey meeting. So I sent a follow-up text asking what the deal is. Cricket. April 18th, flying to LA early tomorrow morning. I'm going to bed believing Arvel Reese is the Jets pick at 2. April 19th, last Sunday, I said I wasn't decided. Now, here's my information. It's Arvell Reese at number 2. April 21st, that's today. I'm now of the belief that New York views Bailey, a proven pass rusher, as a safer pick than Reese. Todd McShay, your hamstrings have to be killing you from the level of backpedaling that we have seen over the last week and change.
Yeah, and the only thing I want to contest there is like and we talked about this last week too, but like the safer pick based on what? Like as a rusher, he's the safer pick. Okay, I guess sure, but there's obviously much more to being an NFL outside linebacker edge than just rushing the passer, which I think is something that's been like weird on Twitter. It's like, oh, he's an off the ball linebacker. He's not an edge. He's an outside linebacker. An outside linebacker is an edge. Like, can we stop with that, especially in a 3-4? Like, Jake, do you consider TJ Watt an edge? Like, yes, he's an outside linebacker in a 3-4, so he stands up sometimes, but he's still an edge. So if you're saying he's an outside linebacker, you're saying he's an edge. So I've seen some people say at the same time he's not an outside linebacker, or he's an outside linebacker, he's not an edge. It's like, what, you're contradicting yourself there. Like, what are you saying? Unless you're saying the Jets are going to run a 4-3. But yeah, the backpedaling from Machey, the backpedaling from so many big media people who will be like, oh, I like Bailey, I like Bailey, I like Bailey. And now, 2 days ago, oh, I like Reese, or I like Bailey better, but Reese is the better fit for the Jets. So part of my problem with a lot of the big media people is I feel like they try to have takes that aren't going to piss people off, and they just try to go with the wind. And nobody's really comfortable with like standing out on their own opinions. So like Omar Cooper, right, Jake? And you're not the biggest draft guy in the world, and I like that you'll admit that. Like, yeah, I didn't watch the tape on these guys or whatever else it is, but like, Cooper came out of nowhere, and then suddenly everybody in the draft community is talking about Cooper over 2 weeks. It's like, why were you guys not talking about him? If you watched him 2-3 weeks ago, why weren't you talking about him then? So everybody just tends to ride with the wind. And that's what really bothers me about draft season is just, I don't know, like the for lack of a better term, like the cuckiness of it. I'm just ready for it to be done.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.